Hey everyone, today we are talking light painting. As I mentioned in my very first video, I like to do both deep space astrophotography and light painting and showed you an image very similar to this right here. Well, in today's episode, we are going to talk about how to take images just like that right there, but also how to make your very own light tube. If you've gone online, maybe curious to know what it is these light tubes are and how much they cost, well, you'll see they cost anywhere from $70 to up to $400 a light tube. But with me here today, we're going to make a light tube for just $7. My name is Robert, and this is Chasing Photons. Hey everyone, welcome back. Alright, as I mentioned before, we're going to make a light tube today for only $7. And if you go online, you'll see that they sell for anywhere from $70 up to $400 online. So we're going to go ahead and make our light tube at a fraction of the cost. So what are we going to need? We're going to need 4 sheets of regular printer paper. We're going to need some tape, and we're going to need our light tube. Now let's talk about our light tube. This really is a 4-foot long fluorescent tube protector. And you could buy these at Lowe's or Home Depot. The 4-foot long length was $7. There is also an 8-foot long length, and that is $12. So you may want to pick up the 8-foot, and I'll show you why soon, so you get 2 of them. But anyways, so we got our 4-foot length, and now we're going to start to build it. But before we build it, I got to ask you to meet me over there. Alright, so let's build our light tube. As I mentioned before, we need 4 pieces of printer paper. And what we're going to do with them is we're going to cut them 12 centimeters wide all the way down. Or for my American friends, that's 4 3/4 of an inch. Once we have all 4 sheets cut out, we're going to tape them end to end. So we end up with a 4 3/4 wide by 44-inch long piece of paper, or 12 centimeters wide by 112 centimeters long. And it'll look very similar to this right here. Now, I'm cheating because this has already been in my light tube for some time now. And so it's already curled up nicely, and it makes it really easy for me to slide inside my light tube. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our light tube and slide our paper in, right? Now, you're going to struggle with this a little bit because a flat piece of paper just doesn't want to bend easily and then slide all the way in. So don't worry about wrinkling it and stuff like that. Mine is wrinkled all over, as you could see. And once you're actually moving it, it doesn't show on the picture, so it doesn't really matter. Now, bring it all the way up to the top, as you can see. I'm not there, so turn it over, tap it a couple of times, and there you go. It's all the way to the top. Now, you're done. Your light tube is done. And you didn't pay $400 or $70 or $200 for your tube. You paid $7. But I'm going to show you a little trick that I do. So these ends have a hole in it. And the idea is that the 2 prongs for the fluorescent tube stick out through this hole to actually plug in or screw into the fixture. So what I do is this. I go to the dollar store and I pick up these little mirrors. They're an inch round, and they're like 30 of them for $3. And what I do is I actually glue them to the inside of the actual cap. And this way it reflects the light back down, and it blocks the light coming out of this hole here. Or else you end up with a light all over the floor, and I just don't like that. Then put it on, and you're good to go. Now, if you remember before, I mentioned that I said you may want to buy 2 of these, the 8-foot long, cut them in half so you get 2 light tubes. And here's why. This is another thing I do. I go out to the Michael's craft store and I pick up this clear blue film. And I wrap the outside of my tubes with them so that this way I end up with a blue tube, a gold, is considered gold by the way, gold tube, and a white tube. This way I can easily go ahead and change it, different colors, different styles and stuff like that. So instead of just spinning white, I have a variety. Anyways, let's take our tubes, let's go outside. We're going to talk about what you got to do to actually take the pictures and how to use them. So let's go. Hey everyone, so last night I attempted to do this segment outside. However, the wind was so strong that the microphone on the camera would only pick up the sound of the wind as opposed to my voice. So I have to redo this now inside. So here we go. So we have our light tube, it's all ready to go, and we need now to set up your camera so that this way we could do long exposure photography. So one thing to know is your camera has to be on a tripod. And the reason for this is that any little subtle movement on your camera during a long exposure will cause the picture to be blurry. So it has to be stable and secure and make sure it's not moving. So you have to use a tripod. Two other things we're going to need is, one, a flashlight. And when looking for a flashlight, I prefer flashlights that have a clip to them, so that this way I can slide the clip into my light tube, and so that this way it's secure in there. Now also make sure you put your wrist strap on, because these flashlights can go anywhere from $100 to $200. This one was only about $50. So, but it's showing its age quite quickly, let me tell you. Now, another thing you're going to need is an intervalometer. So, your intervalometer, what it does is it controls the shutter of your camera. So, when I click the button, my shutter opens, I do a shape, I click the button, my shutter closes. So that's what it does. Now, they're not expensive, they're only about $20 on Amazon. So you need these two things, of course. Now, one other thing to know is that when you're doing your light painting, you're going to have to put your lens in manual focus mode. So if you look on your lens, it'll say AF and MF. And you're going to have to put that into MF mode, so that this way you could focus on your subject and then do your light painting. If you leave it in AF mode, what's going to happen is that your camera may think that the tree behind your subject is what it needs to focus in on. And it'll focus in on the tree instead of the person that's in front of it. So make sure it's in manual focus. And another piece of advice is go a little early if you can in the daylight and do your focus then, because it's a lot easier to focus during the day than it is at night. Here we go. Your camera has to be in manual mode. Okay, so there's an image that's probably right here that's going to show you to set your dial to manual mode. Now this means you're going to need a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. So the camera has to be in manual mode, so that this way you can control the ISO, the f-stop, and the shutter itself. Right? So the shutter has to be put in bulb mode, and that means that this way you can control it using your intervalometer. And the ISO, if it's early even in the evening and you want to capture that beautiful orange glow of the sun, you got to drop your ISO all the way down to 100. And that means that it's only a little bit of light that's hitting the actual sensor in your camera. Now as for f-stop, you want to raise that all the way up to maybe f13. Depends on what your lens can do. Now again, the higher the number is in your f-stop, the smaller the less amount of light is hitting your shutter again. As the evening progresses and it's getting darker and darker, you're going to have to actually take your ISO and increase it from 100 to 200. And then if you keep doing photography out there, you're going to go from 200 to 400, 400 to 800, and depending on what your camera can do. And as for the f-stop, you're going to go the opposite way. So f13 you're going to start at, you're going to probably go to f10 or f11, and then f9, and keep going down, down, down until you are fully open, and that again will depend on your lens of your camera, and it could go all the way down to f2. So as the night goes on, increase your ISO, decrease your f-stop, all right? So one other thing to know, I'm going to give you two other pieces of advice. One, dress in black. And the reason for this is that the camera will actually pick up the colors in the light a lot easier than it picks up black. So you want to hide yourself because you don't want to be in the pictures. So therefore black is your best color to use. That's one. Your second piece of advice is this. When you're actually doing your light painting, stand sideways behind the person or your subject. Again, you want to be, if you're square on, you're wider. If you're sideways, you're thinner, and therefore, when you're doing your light painting and your shapes, it's harder for the camera to pick you up. So make sure you do those two things as well. So let's do our first simple shape, and that will be just a circle behind a person or a subject, whatever it is that you're light painting. So you stand behind them, sideways, intervalometer in hand, hit the button so your shutter opens, spin your light tube, hit the shutter button again, your shutter is now closed, picture is done. And it'll look exactly like that right there. Alright, now you can modify and do a little bit of a different shape. What I like to do with my circles is, I like to stand behind the person, do a circle, bring it back up, and then start with a really big circle on the side, and as I'm extending my arm out, I'm going big circle to smaller circle and smaller circle all the way out, and it ends up looking like that right there. So easy circle and some circles off to the side, that's it. One of my favorite shapes is called the Lotus, and so what you do for your Lotus is you stand behind your subject, bring up your light tube, and you want to just start doing little left to right movements. And as you're going down, you're going to extend the light tube going further and further all the way down. And that will give you an image that looks very similar to that right there. My final of the basic shapes are circles again. However, not just a simple circle behind the person. What we're going to do is we're going to take our light tube and we're going to extend it in front of the person. So if they were there, that this light tube would be in front of them, high up. And what I'll start to do is I'll start to do little circles and I'll start to walk backwards. And so as I'm walking backwards, and I've of course missed the person in front of me so I don't whack them in the head with the light tube, is I will keep getting bigger and bigger circles until I've covered myself completely. Okay? And I'm going to show you this with a mannequin so you kind of understand a little more. So let's get the mannequin. Alright, so here we are. Now, if my camera was in front of me, I would be standing with my light tube above the person with the circles, and as I'm walking backwards, my circles are getting bigger and bigger until I've covered everything that from the ground to above my head, so you can no longer see me in the image. So light painting is all about shapes, but don't be limited to the circles that I just showed you, or the lotus, or the circle from the top and getting wider at the bottom. Do anything you want. I'm going to show you one I love doing, is I stand off to the side of the person behind them, and then with my light tube I'll start spinning it out here. And I'll even go vertical like this, pass in front of them, and then keep going like that. And just make movements. It's going to record all the light and all those shapes. So you end up with, a picture similar to this right here. And I absolutely love those types of pictures. So, give it a shot. You may find something you like and run with it. I mean, enjoy it. This is all about having fun. I absolutely love doing this. And the reason why I spend a lot of time doing this is because for the past 3 or 4 months I haven't had a clear night, so I haven't been able to do any astrophotography. So in my spare time I end up doing some light painting, and there's different versions of light painting as well, and I'll show you when I start light painting houses and stuff like that, or wrecks, abandoned buildings. I love doing those. So I hope to have some of those for you in the near future, but I'm gonna have to wait till it warms up a bit because it is cold out there. But anyways, I'm going to roll with some pictures here, ending off this video, and I hope you liked them. Drop a comment below. Thanks for watching.